Have you ever stopped to think that, despite the love we have for our children, there are things we should never do for them? Could it be that some well-intentioned actions might actually be hindering their future? In this video, I will reveal 7 things we should never do for our children to help them become more independent and prepared for life. We'll discuss how overprotecting them, avoiding responsibilities, and making decisions on their behalf can impact their development and self-confidence. By watching until the end, you will understand how small changes in your behavior can make a big difference in your children's success and happiness. If you've ever wondered whether you are helping or hindering your children's growth, this video will provide you with answers. Don't miss these tips that could transform how you support them on their life journey. But first, I ask you to subscribe to the channel and comment below with your city so we can see how far our message is reaching. Making all the decisions for them. When I look at the dynamics between parents and children, I see a common trap that many fall into: the desire to make all the decisions for their kids. At first glance, this might seem like a way to protect and guide, but in reality, it is a significant deprivation. A child who is not given the opportunity to make choices on their own misses out on learning what it means to make decisions. It's like giving someone a map but forbidding them from using the compass. The lack of experience in decision-making can lead to excessive dependence, where, upon reaching adulthood, the individual feels lost and incapable of making even simple choices. Moreover, the consequences of not making those decisions are equally important. When a child makes a mistake, even a small one, it becomes a learning opportunity. Each wrong choice carries valuable lessons that can shape character and critical thinking skills. When parents take on the role of deciders, they end up hindering this natural evolution. Life is full of choices, and learning to navigate them from an early age is crucial for developing into a competent and confident adult. And what about the weight of the consequences? Making decisions involves risks, and it is precisely this experience that helps build resilience. If someone never faces the burden of a wrong choice, how can they be prepared to handle more complex situations in the future? The world is a place filled with nuances, and adulthood is not just about following rules, but knowing when to break them and how to adapt. When parents make all the decisions, they not only rob their children of learning, but also leave them unprepared for a world that won't make choices for them. Another aspect to consider is the relationship between parents and children that forms in this process. The lack of autonomy can breed resentment, a kind of silent rebellion. Over time, the child may come to see their parents not as guides, but as obstacles. This dynamic can harm communication and trust, as the child may feel that their opinions and desires are not valued. Ultimately, this relationship can become unbalanced, with the parent taking on an authoritarian role, while the child assumes a dependent one. Finally, by making all the decisions for our children, we are in fact depriving them of something essential: the ability to self-discover. Through their choices, they begin to understand their own preferences, values, and limits. This self-discovery is a crucial pillar for forming a healthy identity. By denying this process, we not only limit their personal growth, but also create a generation that may struggle to assert themselves and navigate the world, resolving all their problems. Resolving all of our children's problems may seem like an act of unconditional love, but in reality, it's a subtle trap that can undermine their development. When solutions are always handed to them on a silver platter, what's at stake is their ability to learn how to resolve conflicts. Reflecting on my own childhood, I remember moments when I had to face challenges and how those experiences shaped me. Every difficulty I overcame was a victory that built my self-confidence and resilience. When parents do the hard work for their children, they take away these critical opportunities. It's not just about solving problems, it's also about allowing children to experience failure. When a child encounters an obstacle and has to find a resolution, they are being prepared for life. Life is full of challenges, and if we don't get the chance to practice, the frustration can be overwhelming when we reach adulthood. It's like equipping an athlete to compete without any training. The lack of problem-solving skills can lead to a victim mentality, where a person believes they always need external help. Moreover, the ability to resolve conflicts extends to various areas of life. Whether at work, in relationships, or in everyday situations, the capacity to identify a problem and work towards a solution is crucial. When parents always intervene, children may grow up not knowing how to negotiate, debate, or handle disagreements. This can result in an adulthood filled with interpersonal difficulties and, consequently, social isolation. Another issue is the sense of helplessness that can arise. When a parent is always there to solve everything, the child may start to believe they lack the ability to face challenges on their own. This belief can become a mental barrier that follows them throughout life. The fear of failure becomes so overwhelming that they may avoid putting themselves in challenging situations. Thus, the cycle perpetuates and self-confidence diminishes with each new difficulty that arises. Ultimately, it's important to remember that life is a series of problems to be solved. By allowing our children to face and resolve their own conflicts, we are preparing them to be independent, self-sufficient adults. Every small victory, every mistake made, and every lesson learned are essential pieces in the construction of a well-rounded individual. Instead of protecting them, we are, in fact, limiting their potential to shine. Overprotection is a theme that resonates deeply in many households. It's understandable that as parents we want to shield our children from anything that might hurt or harm them. However, excessive protection can create an environment where the fear of exploring the world becomes the norm. I remember meeting a young man who, despite having great talents, had a paralyzing fear of taking risks. The reason? His parents always kept him in a bubble, preventing him from facing any discomfort. This fear often turns into a barrier to developing self-confidence. When children don't have the chance to confront their insecurities, how can they trust their abilities? The feeling that the world is a dangerous place can lead to a constant state of anxiety and insecurity. What should be a time of discovery and learning transforms into a period of stagnation and fear. The simple act of going outside to play or explore becomes a monumental task. Excessive protection can also create an interesting paradox. The more we protect, the more dependent they become. It's as if, in trying to shield them from all dangers, we're actually creating an environment where dependence becomes the only option. This can generate a vicious cycle, where children feel incapable of acting on their own, always looking to their parents for approval or permission. The sense of control that parents believe they are exercising turns into a burden for their children. And, of course, this dynamic has long-term implications. When these young people finally enter the real world, they may feel completely unprepared. What do they do when there's no longer a parent to solve their problems? It's a shock, and many struggle to cope with it healthily. The transition from a protected environment to the real world can be brutal, and the lack of prior experiences can lead to a range of emotional and practical difficulties. Ultimately, it's vital to understand that the world is indeed full of risks. But it's also a space for growth and learning. By allowing our children to explore, even if it means facing some challenges along the way, we are preparing them for a future where they can not only survive but thrive. True protection does not lie in building walls around them, but in equipping them with the necessary tools to face the world. With courage and confidence, doing the tasks for them. Sometimes I find myself thinking about how, in a gesture of love, we can end up suffocating our children's independence. It's common that when we see our little ones struggling with everyday tasks, like cleaning their room or doing homework, we feel an almost uncontrollable urge to take over and do it for them. However, this seemingly caring attitude can have deeper consequences than we realize. By doing the tasks for them, we are actually depriving them of a valuable opportunity to learn self-sufficiency. I remember a time when my son was trying to put together a puzzle. He was visibly frustrated, and for a moment I thought about intervening. But instead I decided to stay by his side, simply offering words of encouragement. Watching him, I realized that this struggle was part of the learning process. When he finally managed to complete the puzzle, the joy on his face was indescribable. The achievement felt much more significant than if I had done it all for him. By giving them space to face small challenges, we help shape their problem-solving abilities and teach them the importance of responsibility. Self-sufficiency is not just about being able to do things on their own, it's also about developing a mindset that values effort and persistence. If we always solve everything for them, they may grow up believing they don't need to try, that there will always be someone to do things for them. This can turn into a vicious cycle, where they become adults expecting solutions to come from outside rather than seeking to resolve issues on their own. And honestly, who wouldn't want to see their children grow into confident adults capable of facing challenges? Moreover, it's important to remember that responsibility is a skill learned through practice. When we allow our children to tackle their tasks, no matter how small, we teach them the importance of fulfilling commitments and experiencing the satisfaction that comes from completing something on their own. This sense of accomplishment is crucial as it builds self-esteem and confidence, essential elements for any human being. Therefore, we need to be patient and let them make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and above all, feel proud of their achievements. In the end, by allowing our children to handle their own tasks, we are also laying the groundwork for a brighter future. The self-sufficiency they develop from an early age will be fundamental in various areas of their lives, whether in academics, work, or personal relationships. It's an investment worth making because instead of creating dependence, we are nurturing individuals who can rise up and shine on their own. Avoiding discussions about failures and frustrations. One of the behaviors that concerns me most in raising children is the tendency to avoid discussions about failures and frustrations. Sometimes it's easier to ignore these conversations, especially when we notice our children are going through tough times or facing rejection. However, by ignoring these feelings, we are essentially creating a barrier that can hinder their emotional development in the future. Talking about failures isn't just important, it's essential. In my experience, I've always tried to create an environment where my child feels safe to share his frustrations. I remember one day when he came home from school very upset because he hadn't been chosen for the soccer team. He was so discouraged that for a moment, I thought about changing the subject or trying to cheer him up quickly. But instead, I sat down next to him and opened the floor for him to express what he was feeling. This conversation not only helped him process the situation, but also taught him that failures are a part of life, and that it's okay to feel sad sometimes. The truth is that life is full of ups and downs, and if we don't teach our children how to deal with frustrations, we're leaving them unprepared for the world. By avoiding discussions about these moments, we risk raising adults who struggle to accept criticism and don't know how to handle rejection. Teaching our children to view failures as learning opportunities is one of the greatest gifts we can give them. By normalizing conversations about frustrations, we are helping them develop resilience, a quality that will be extremely valuable throughout their lives. Moreover, it's important to show them that even the most successful people face failures and challenges. Sharing stories of public figures who encountered rejections or setbacks before achieving their goals can be an effective way to illustrate this point. It helps our children understand that failure isn't the end of the road, but rather a part of the journey that can lead them to a better place. This perspective can be incredibly liberating and encouraging. Ultimately, by discussing failures and frustrations, we're not only preparing our children to face challenges, but also strengthening our relationship with them. When they know they can rely on us to talk about anything, including their insecurities, it creates a bond of trust. They will feel more comfortable seeking our support when they encounter difficulties, and that's something we all desire. To be a safe harbor for our children in times of storm. Controlling your dreams and career choices. I believe one of the biggest mistakes we can make as parents is trying to control our children's dreams and career choices. It's natural to want the best for them, but often, this excessive protection can lead to frustration and resentment. When we impose our own desires and expectations on their lives, we risk stifling their genuine passions and interests. So, what we can do is guide and support them on their own journeys while respecting their choices. I remember when my son expressed an interest in becoming a musician. It was an exciting moment for me, but I confess that for a second, I thought about suggesting he consider a safer career, like medicine or engineering. However, upon reflecting on this, I realized that what truly mattered was that he followed his own heart. Instead of trying to steer him away from what he really wanted, I decided to support him in his music lessons and encourage him to perform at events. This decision not only boosted his confidence, but also strengthened our relationship, as he felt heard and respected. When we control our children's dreams, we are essentially telling them that their passions are not valid. This can lead to deep resentment, especially when they realize they lack the freedom to explore what they truly love. The frustration that arises from this lack of autonomy can manifest in various ways, from disinterest in their activities to an emotional disconnect with their parents. It is crucial that as parents, we have the humility to listen to and learn from our children, even if their choices differ from ours. Moreover, allowing our children to pursue their own paths regarding their careers helps them develop a sense of identity. When they have the freedom to explore their passions, they begin to understand who they really are and what they want from life. This self-exploration is essential for shaping a confident and fulfilled adult. In this way, instead of raising children who merely meet others' expectations, we are nurturing individuals who have clarity about their own aspirations and goals. Finally, supporting our children's dreams does not mean we should be oblivious to their choices. It is important to guide them, offer advice, and help them understand the realities of the world. However, this guidance should be given in a way that respects their wishes and desires. The balance between providing support and allowing them to experiment is key to ensuring they feel happy and fulfilled in their choices in the future. After all, their success should be defined by their own metrics, not by ours. Avoiding conversations about money and financial responsibilities. It's curious how often we avoid discussing money with our children, as if it were a taboo subject. However, this lack of dialogue can lead to their growing up without basic financial management skills and a sense of responsibility. By keeping this area of life shrouded in silence, we leave our kids unprepared to deal with a fundamental aspect of adulthood. Talking about money is not just necessary, it's vital. When my son started receiving his allowance, I decided it was the right time to discuss finances. I sat down with him, and we explained together how to create a simple budget, the importance of saving for something he truly wanted, and the necessity of not spending more than he had. This conversation not only helped him understand the value of money, but also gave him a sense of responsibility. He learned that each purchase is a decision, and that he can choose what is most important to him. Moreover, by avoiding discussions about money, we risk our children growing up without understanding the difference between needs and wants. Without this understanding, they may become adults who accumulate unnecessary debt or struggle to manage their own budgets. By openly discussing money, we teach them the importance of living within their means, controlling dreams and career choices. One of the things that bothers me the most is when I see parents trying to control their children's dreams and career choices. I understand that the intention may be good, but in reality it often generates immense frustration. I've witnessed many situations where young people felt suffocated by expectations that weren't their own. It's as if they were trapped in a box with no room to breathe or discover who they really are. And believe me, this can lead to deep resentment that lasts a lifetime. When we control others' choices, we lose the opportunity to explore passions that truly matter. I have friends who were pushed into careers that had nothing to do with their true desires. One of them wanted to be an artist, but his family insisted he become an engineer. The result? A guy who was frustrated, spending years doing something he hated, which ultimately left him bitter. His dream was stifled, and it affected many areas of his life. Additionally, this imposition creates a disconnect between parents and children. When you don't allow your child to choose their own path, the relationship can deteriorate. They begin to wonder if they will ever be authentic, if their choices truly matter. This can lead to internal rebellion, and in many cases, they express their desire for independence through rebellious behavior. Who can blame them? It's natural to want to break free from something that confines you. The lack of autonomy in life choices not only hampers personal development, but also the ability to adapt to change. If you don't let someone make their own decisions, how will they learn to handle the unexpected? The world is full of surprises, and those who haven't learned to shape their own path may feel lost when things don't go as planned. Learning to adapt is essential, and that begins with the freedom to make mistakes and choices. Finally, when you control someone's dreams, you miss the chance to celebrate their achievements. Every small step they take toward what they truly love should be celebrated. But if what matters is someone else's imposed vision, those moments of joy can go unnoticed. What could be a journey of discovery turns into an obligation that often brings no satisfaction. Ultimately, what truly matters are the stories we're living and how we feel about them. Avoiding conversations about money and financial responsibilities. Money, the topic that many prefer to avoid as if it were a plague. I grew up in a household where talking about money was almost taboo. No one discussed finances, bills, or how to budget. The result? When I reached adulthood, I felt completely unprepared. I had no idea how to manage my own money, which led to some serious issues. Looking back, I can see how this lack of dialogue was detrimental. When money is not discussed, children grow up without understanding the value of things. I remember having a very distorted view of what was expensive or cheap. To me, everything was a mystery, and I often made impulsive purchases without thinking about the consequences. This led to a series of financial frustrations that could have been avoided had I learned about planning and responsibility early on. What I wish is that my parents had opened up this dialogue and taught me to make wiser choices. Moreover, avoiding discussions about money can lead to a lack of responsibility. When one is not taught to take care of finances, it becomes easy to fall into the trap of rampant consumerism. I've seen this happen to many friends who, when they started working, ended up in debt because they didn't know how to manage their spending. Therein lies the problem. Financial freedom turns into a prison of debt, which can affect a person's mental and emotional health. It's a snowball effect that, if not controlled, can lead to immense stress. Another important point is that a lack of financial knowledge creates a vicious cycle. If young people do not learn to handle money, they also cannot teach their children. And so, misinformation gets passed down from generation to generation, perpetuating the difficulties in managing finances. This is concerning because financial education is essential for quality of life. If we don't break this cycle, many will continue to live without the necessary tools to thrive. Lastly, the absence of conversations about money can create a significant stigma. Many people feel embarrassed to discuss their finances, leading to isolation and shame. What should be a normal topic of conversation becomes a burden. I've learned that being open about money is liberating. Talking about finances, sharing experiences, and even discussing mistakes can help demystify the subject and make financial management simpler. After all, we're all learning together, and that's how we grow. So, everyone, we've reached the end of this super important video, and I want you to reflect. Have you ever thought about how your actions can impact your children's future? Each of the 7 things we discussed today carries a valuable lesson. By avoiding them, are we truly helping our little ones become more secure and independent adults? Now I want to hear from you. Have any of these attitudes made their way into your routine? Which ones do you plan to change? Share your experiences in the comments. This can help other parents realize they're not alone on this journey. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more tips that can transform the relationship between you and your children. After all, educating is a challenge, but it's also one of life's greatest joys. Let's embark on this mission together to raise happy and confident kids. Finally, remember, every small step counts. What will you do from now on? I'm curious to know. Until next time, let's cultivate a bright future for our children together. Now, I want to hear from you. Have any of these attitudes made their way into your routine? Which ones do you plan to change? Share your experiences in the comments. This can help other parents realize they're not alone on this journey. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more tips that can transform the relationship between you and your children. After all, educating is a challenge, but it's also one of life's greatest joys. Let's embark on this mission together to raise happy and confident kids. Finally, remember, every small step counts. What will you do from now on? I'm curious to know. Until next time, let's cultivate a bright future for our children together.